You're not going to believe this one, guys. We've got an amazing guest on the show today to show you that age is literally just a number. I'm not kidding you. It's an amazing guest. This is the Game Time Guru. So,
what time is it? Game time! Boom.
If you're sick of the mainstream sports outlets, well, so was I. So I started my own show. I'm Shane Larson, and this is the Game Time Guru. It's different than other talk shows. I'm providing a panoramic view on sports so you can see them through a different lens. So buckle up and let's go. That's right, let's go. Guys, it's Shane Larson, host of the Game Time Guru podcast. I'm happy to have you here with us today. Such an awesome episode. I said it in the intro. This is going to be a guy who's going to tell us how age is literally just a number. You're going to hear about a story of how football saved this individual's life and how you can truly put your mind to anything and accomplish anything that you want to. It doesn't matter how old you are because, like I said, age is just a number. We've got a 51-year-old college football player on the show. That's right. I did not stutter. I did not misspeak. He is 51 years old, and he's joining us because he's going to talk about his college football journey. It's an amazing episode of the Game Time Guru podcast. So before we get started, you know the housekeeping items. We've got to make sure that you're subscribed to the show. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, make sure that you do that. Whatever platform you're listening on, make sure you leave me a review. It's super helpful for me. So if this is your first time listening to the show, this is a great episode to get started on because Jason's got an amazing story. So if you're one of Jason's friends or family members, teammates even, check the show out. Leave me a review if you can. It'd be super helpful. And yeah, subscribe to the show so you can listen to all the previous episodes and any of the future ones coming out. And as a subscriber to the show, you get access to the bonus episodes that I launch throughout the week as well. I don't typically advertise those on social media. Those are only to the subscribers of the show. Guys, the show is growing immensely. I love it, and I love the guests that I've brought on. I love the connections I've made, and it's due in large part to all of you who have supported the show from day one. We're going on 2.5 years now of the show, and it just continues to grow, and the relationships continue to build. If you want a free Audible trial, to get a 30-day free trial for Audible, go to audibletrial.com/thegametimeGuru. If you're into audiobooks, super good. Just go to audibletrial.com/thegametimeGuru, and you can get a free 30-day free trial to check it out. So make sure you do that if you're into audiobooks. I've already had a couple of friends of mine from work who have used it, and it works. It's not a funky thing. It helps me out, helps you out. Why not use that? Because it helps everybody out. Guys, I really just want to jump into this episode because as I was sitting there, I just want to give you a little preface here. When I was interviewing Jason and I was talking, I was already excited to talk to him. I had kind of researched his story. I'd watched some of the news clips that they had done about 2 years ago, and I knew his story a little, but I didn't know the details. So when I was talking to him, man, it was just I was smiling because I knew that when this episode launched, my listeners were going to be so happy. This is such a cool story to hear. So I'm just super excited to share it with you guys. So before I get rambling on too much, I just want to make sure that everybody's ready to go. So take a bathroom break, whatever you got to do right now. Take a drink of water, get ready. We're going to listen to this interview with Jason Spangler. What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning into the Game Time Guru podcast. Hope you had an opportunity to either take a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever, and get ready for this interview. So without further ado, I want to bring on this college football player. His name's Jason Spangler, 51-year-old man out of Texas. He's a college football player for Texas Wesleyan, and it's an amazing story that he's got, but he's super busy, and we're going to learn about why he's so busy in his regular life. But first, I just want to say thank you, Jason, for joining the show with us today.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm excited for this one today, Jason, because, before you even got to the ranks where you're at now, we're going to do a little bit of a discussion of your background. You were actually into gymnastics. You were a very good gymnast, for that matter. Football, you had kind of stopped back in what you said, 7th or 8th grade, so you'll get into that in a little bit. But gymnastics was kind of like your first thing, and then you also went the military route earlier in your life. So could you give us a little bit of a background of yourself and, before we got to playing college football?
Well, I actually played every sport when I was younger. I excelled in gymnastics. The last time I played football was 7th grade. I was a slot receiver, and then went into gymnastics through junior high and high school. In my senior year of high school, I left the sport. Asked a head coach if I could come play football at my local high school, LD Bell in Hurst, Texas, and he told me I was too small. Even though I played no-pad football sandlot on the weekends with all the starters on the team, he told me I couldn't play on his team, so I went on my way and ended up getting back into gymnastics at the University of Oklahoma in 1988, and had a basically a season-ending injury, if not a sport-ending injury on the high bar, and never even finished the semester, had to withdraw, and was in a cast for four months. So from that point on, I started focusing on life and not sport. Just I do some co-ed and some men's softball leagues, but that's about the extent of what I was doing outside of my normal life.
And after college, you decided to go the military route. So can you kind of explain your military experience for us, Jason?
Yeah, and I entered the U.S. Army in 1993. I come from an aviation background. My father was a fighter pilot during Cuban Missile Crisis in Vietnam War, and then in the reserves till he was 50 and flew for the airlines. So I came from an aviation background, was coaching gymnastics and bartending, making great money. But I ended up getting married, and I had a child on the way, and I was like, I can't do this the rest of my life. So I went into the Army and became a warrant officer and flew Armed Scout Reconnaissance Aircraft, which is a Kiowa Warrior, which is now retired. But we basically were a scout attack role. I flew at the 82nd Airborne. I flew in Germany, and then I flew at National Training Center in California.
Man, that's so awesome, Jason. Okay, so you've had quite a bit of experience when it comes to life, for that matter. You got to compete at a very high level when it came to gymnastics, and then you also got to serve your country and go to some pretty crazy places and have some crazy life experiences. All of this is happening in the late 80s, early 90s, which I would argue, or I would assume, is probably before some of your current teammates were even born. So, Jason, I want to ask this question now. Let's get into this. And I mean this was with all due respect, but at your age now, what made it, what got you, excited and even put this into your mind that you wanted to compete in football, a sport you haven't played since the 7th grade, at this age, at a high level in college? What happened to get that into your mind?
Well, I'm starting my second 50 years, and that's kind of the way I look at it. I'm going to Benjamin Button it. Life was stale for me, and when you own your own business and things aren't always going well, you tend to focus on the negative. And I've always pushed my children to have positive self-talk every day and, listen to speakers that can inspire you to do great things and help you reach your goals. And I had been hounding my son to watch Tony Robbins for a while, and there was a Netflix program, and he called me one night, and he had watched it. And he was actually emotionally moved by it. And he goes, Dad, you have to watch this. So I watched it. It's called I'm Not Your Guru. It's just a 2-hour special looking at the inside of one of his 7-day camps that he does. And I saw all these stories about all these people and all the things they had been through and how they were able to realize that they could push through them. And I'd had 2 friends die earlier that year in their early 40s from cancer, very quickly and unexpected. And I was like, I play competitive softball with kids that are, 20 to 30 years old. I'm faster than everybody on the team. And I had seen a story about Texas Wesleyan University starting their football program back up after 76 years. And so I sent an email. I need something else in my life. And I watched the program, and it really inspired me to try to do something great to inspire other people. And so I sent Coach Perdome at Texas Wesleyan an email. I said, listen, this is who I am. This is my age. I'm a good athlete. I still run a 4.740 at the age of 49. I really want to come out and see if I can play football for the university. And he emailed me back the next morning and said, you need to be here tomorrow. So I came in and sat down with him, and we talked, and he introduced me to the defensive coordinator, which is Paul Duckworth. And Paul looked at me and said, you're going to play for me, and you're going to play in our secondary. And I looked at him and said, I know I'm kind of a unicorn. He goes, Jason, I coach semi-pro, and my 50-year-olds are older than any of my 20-year-olds. And he said, I'm looking forward to this. So that's kind of how it all came into play. So I enrolled in one class in the spring so I would have eligibility to go through spring ball. And at that point, they thought that I was going to be done and I wasn't coming back. They actually thought I wouldn't even make it through. And I ended up playing 26 plays in the spring game. And then we did max out exercises at the end of that spring, and I outmax benched 82% of the team. And they realized that I was not there just for the fun of it. I was there to work hard also.
Okay, so you got to tell me this then. 2 years ago you're pushing 50. I want to know what the reaction of your teammates was when they saw that a guy as old as their dad was going to be playing college football with them.
Well, we do a team introduction the first day of school in the spring, and I walked in and there was probably 110 players there, and can't wear hats. We have specific rules for discipline at our university. I always wear a ball cap because I'm kind of thin, so I just shave my head. And I walked in and pulled my hat off, and 110 kids looked over at me when I sat down, and they were like, "What's this guy doing here?" And one of the players turned around and looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "It's an experiment. Don't worry about it." And he started laughing, and so everybody stands up and introduces themselves, and I stood up and introduced myself, and I said, "Most of y'all are the age of my children, which are all college-age children, and I'm, former military." And at that point, I got a standing ovation from the whole team, and they immediately accepted me in as one of their own, and realized that I was outworking them, and their common thread was, "You are not a normal human being." That's what I continually got told by these kids.
Man, it's super inspiring to hear your story. And like I was telling the listeners earlier, obviously you guys know that, I found Jason by going through social media, and then I was doing some research on it. And the whole entire story is just super inspiring to see you out there and you're running at full speed and you're competing at a very high level. And you just mentioned how you out max benched a very high percentage of the team, and you can run just as fast as a lot of them. Like, man, you're doing a great job. And, I'm curious though about the recovery aspect, Jason, because you're playing in the spring ball, and this is difficult on the body. I'm 30 years old and I feel like my joints can't recover. Like I play basketball once a week for city leagues. I can't recover. I try to play softball. I tweak my back. Like everything hurts now, and I'm only 30 years old. So I just want to know like how you were able to, go in here and prove, that your body can truly do a lot of things for you, but that you have to have the right mindset for it and push through. But I want to know like the recovery aspect. How was it when you first got in your first year, you're going through spring ball, the hard camps, the hard practices? How did you get your body at that age to recover essentially?
Advil, ice baths, and Crown Royal. Those were my three secrets. Every day, every night I would go home and buy 3 bags of ice, and I have a jacuzzi tub, and I would load it up with cold water and 3 bags of ice, pour myself a Crown, and get in that tub for 20 minutes, and that was my recovery mode. The first spring was the toughest because your body's really not used to the vigor you're putting it through. And I tore my meniscus the second week of the spring. I went to the surgeon, and he said, "Your meniscus is shredded. It looks like spaghetti. So we can either take it out and you can be bone to bone, or we can leave it in and put an ACL brace on you, and your PT can be football." So that's what I did. I just got an ACL brace and a cortisone injection, and then went on and played the rest of the spring. And then my body started to get used to the pain and recovery. And in the fall, it was pretty good until I took a couple helmet-to-helmet hits full speed during the last game, and that's when I realized I was really playing football. But yeah, you're right. There is a specific level of pain. I don't have fear of injury when I'm on the field because you can get injured walking across the street. You can get in. Anything can happen at any time. And my one of my things that I want to inspire people to do is live life. Do what you want to do what you love, do what you're inspired to do. And when you do that, you inspire other people to do things that they've been afraid to do.
Yeah, for sure. Because, a lot of us, we have these passions and these dreams, but we have that scared, like that fear, I guess. We're scared of the risk that we have to take because we're scared of like what would happen if we take that risk. But watching your story from afar and listening to it now, it inspires me to want to do more. So you're doing your job like it's awesome. You're leading by example, and I think it's amazing. Now, Jason, tell us what happened the following year, 2018, and where you're at now, specifically, like currently, in regards to the team.
Well, due to the schedule of the fall of 17 and the fact that I run my own roofing company, and I run the day-to-day operations, and I was taking a full load of school, and I had to write 22 essays and tests and everything that was, just like a normal college student. And be on that schedule, and then I was working out an average of 30 hours a week because I lift weights separate from our conditioning and our field workouts. I had a mental breakdown late November because my brain just couldn't handle anymore. I was throwing too much at it. So I decided to take 2018 off, kind of blend back in, focus more on my company, and give myself a break. I still have, two semesters eligibility left. So I took 2018 off. I was actually diagnosed with cancer September 13th of 2018. The only way we found it was I'd broken a rib the second week of fall ball in 2017, and it healed up weird, so I felt something didn't feel right in my body. And when I went to the orthopedic surgeon, she ordered a full-body CT, and it was the right side rib that was broken. We found the cancer in the left side kidney, and it was a stage 1 cancer, which metastasizes once it gets to stage 2. And most people don't even know they have the cancer until they're dead. So until they do an autopsy. So it was actually a divine intervention. I am going to be writing a book when this is all over, and it's probably going to be called Football Saved My Life, because of that broken rib in 2017, we found a cancer in its early stages, and were able to remove it November 8th of 2018. It was removed with no follow-up procedures, and I just had my 7-month CT scan last Monday, and my body's clear of cancer. So after that, I decided, you know what? I said, I'm going to finish this story. I've got 2 semesters of eligibility left. So I came back 7 weeks later, and started spring ball again. I'll be graduating this summer, June 30th, and then I will be enrolling in my MBA in the fall to come back and play football. I'll be playing this spring, just kind of offset. This spring I was actually the fullback for the team at about 70 pounds too light because I only weigh 156. But we didn't have any fullbacks to fill that role, so I decided that, the offensive coordinator asked me if I'd do it just to fill the role for the spring. And I did, and I will never do that one again. I took some big pounding on that, a lot of helmet-to-helmet contact with linebackers. I'm coming back to play free safety and special teams in the fall, and the baseball coaches at the university have reached out to me and asked me to possibly come out and play baseball in the spring since I still have eligibility, and I'll be considered I believe it's the oldest dual sport collegiate athlete in history of America by over 27 years if I do it.
All right. Well, let's get you some more Crown Royal, some Advil, and some ice so you can get ready for the spring, man. That's going to be awesome. It's crazy to hear it because, that whole year of 2018 was just such a crazy year for you, Jason, and you can tell, just think about it. For us that have been, full-time students and full-time workers, full-time employees, I worked full-time, went to school full-time to finish up my bachelor's at Boise State. I was 28 when I got my bachelor's, and it was hard. It was really hard to do that. Then my last year, we were, parents to a newborn. And so my wife and I were trying to learn how to parent. So that was just taxing as well. But if you add football on top of it, that's a whole nother game. And it just adds a whole nother element. And on top of that, it's your age and everything that's going on. So I can imagine how mentally taxing that would be. I can't even imagine going through that. On top of that, you get cancer, but then you beat cancer. There's so many things that you just showed us that you can get through if you put your mind to it and just literally push through it. So that's incredible, and I'm glad you shared that story with us. I love it. I can't wait to hear what you got coming with the book as well. But Jason, I want to know, with all of this going on, what's the biggest lesson you've learned with your football journey so far, would you say?
I think it's acceptance. We have a very diverse team. We have a lot of inner city kids. It's, when you're older and you've been set in your ways, I guess this is my best way to explain this. I have really, the college and being part of this team has really opened my eyes to look at the world from a different person's aspect viewpoint. I've had people tell me, you're privileged, you're white, you were born this way, and I look at these kids and how they've accepted me in, and I'm able to now look at the world from their eyes and their viewpoint and what they have to deal with as a minority or what is considered a minority in America. And I've become a lot more passionate about trying to bridge the gaps between racial divide and ignorance and what creates hate in this country, and try to figure out a way for us to try to make this place a better country and a more acceptable country, and for people to understand each other a little bit better. It's really softened my stance because I was raised conservatively. I was a military person. You get stuck in your lane, you have blinders on, and that's what happens in this country. You just walk through life in your own lane, and you need to step back every once in a while and look. Everybody's got their own opinion and their own viewpoint of the world, and you need to start accepting that. And that's where you get your team unity, and that's where you get unity within a society, is when you can start accepting other people's differences and not look at them as being something wrong because they're different or they think differently. They're human beings. We're all one. So it's kind of my push of letting everybody understand, listen, we're all people. We're all here. We get one life. We're spirits living a human experience, and we need to treat each other good. We need to help each other through things. When you see somebody down, pull them up, do something for them. That's what you're here for. You're not here for yourself. You're here for other people. And if you can change one life, you've done your job on earth. If you can change thousands, you've really done your job on earth. My goal out of all this, in reality, is I've always loved public speaking. I did a lot of it in the military because I was in charge of some big programs. Public speakers get up and speak on a stage, yet they haven't done anything to prove why they can tell you how to live your life. I'm 51 years old. And I'm playing college football. I can stand up there and point at you and say, listen, I've done this. You can do this. You're capable of doing this. You just have to reach inside and find the way. And be it donating time to your community centers, be it donating time to your church, to the homeless, to people that need help, you're doing something for society. It might not be at an athletic level. I have great genetics. I'm lucky. I'm in good health. I take good care of myself besides drinking Crown Royal. But, I hope they can sponsor you now because of that announcement. But
I love it.
Anyway, I live life. I have just as much fun as the next guy. We have a shared suite at the Globe Life Park for the Rangers games. I'm at almost every Rangers game networking with people and entertaining. So, I live a normal life. I live a normal business life. I spend time with my children. I'm not married anymore. I'm now dating somebody that's quite a bit younger than me, and she plays in the lingerie football league. She plays out of the Austin team, and they're actually playing in Seattle at the end of the month. But it's changed my perspective on everything. And I've had people come. The most inspiring thing to me is I've had people come up to me and say, "Man, this is the greatest thing in the world. You inspire me every day. I started my own business because of what you've done, because I was always scared to take that step. And if I can change lives and people can look at me and say, hey, man, this guy might be crazy or he's just really driven, I get it both. But if I can change somebody's perspective on their own life and have them do something greater in the world, I've served the purpose that God put me here for. It's never too late. It's never too late in life to do anything. I tell my kids that every day, and that's another reason I'm doing what I'm doing, to show them it's never too late to get your college degree. It's never too late to compete at a level that is unexpected. I just want to change people's lives for the better, and that's what makes me happy.
Man, that's awesome. What an inspiring story. I appreciate you breaking that down for us, Jason, because it's cool to see how football has helped you throughout your journey and what you intend on doing, all the things you've learned, like you mentioned, the diversity of the culture around your football program and how it's opened your eyes and all the different life experiences you've had, and then how you're going to use that later on with public speaking, writing a book, all those different things. What an awesome story. I appreciate you sharing that with us today, guys. This was Jason Spangler, 51-year-old college football player from Texas Wesleyan. Jason, thanks so much for joining the show and sharing that with us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely, man. And for all those out there, you guys know the drill. Make sure that you're subscribed to the show because we'll talk to you next week. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review. It would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.